Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the football betting series here on YouTube, Premier League edition. As there's midweek action, we're going to skip the recap and go straight on to the Premier League predictions. If you find yourself agreeing with these selections and want to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, that would be much appreciated. So without further ado, let's jump into the Premier League picks. We kick things off today with Newcastle versus Luton, and Newcastle have two types of form. On one hand, they won 2-0 and 3-0 in their FA Cup matches against Fulham and Sunderland, but in the Premiership, they've lost each of their last four in a row. This has seen the Magpies drop down to 10th place in the table, but they do rank number 4 at home with 8 wins, no draws, and 3 defeats to their names. Put simply, the Magpies are just a different animal at home. When we look at their goals records, they score 2.27 at St James Park compared to 1.6 away from home. That's a 30% increase in goal output. Defensively, there's very similar numbers, 0.91 conceded in front of their home fans, and on their travels, they're conceding 2.2 goals per game, which is over 2.5 times the amount they concede at home. Fortunately for Newcastle fans, they are playing at home today, but let's take a look at the away team, Luton. Luton's form has been quite respectable. They won 2-1 in their most recent game against Everton in the FA Cup, and they are now unbeaten in each of their last 4 games. Additionally, when we isolate for just Premier League games, they're unbeaten in 3 of their last 4. So they're starting to turn the ship around a little bit, but I do feel it's too little too late, and they're not going to be able to escape relegation. When we filter by away form, they are 15th in the table, with just 8 points from a possible 30. When we look at the head-to-head records, Luton actually won the reverse fixture by 1-0. However, the Magpies were without Isaac and Botman, who are both expected to feature in this game. And whilst it's not quite a must-win for Eddie Howe and Newcastle, there is some pressure starting to mount on his job. 3 points against Luton will shut people up, so I'm expecting them to go strong in this game. The bookies also fancy Newcastle at odds of about 1.4 or 2 to 5. They are strong home favourites. I'm going to be backing them here for a full stake in bet number 1. Next up, also on the Saturday, we have Sheffield United versus Aston Villa. And Sheffield United lost their most recent game in the FA Cup to the hands of Brighton by 2-5. That does mean they have only won 1 in their last 7 games, and that match was a FA Cup match against League One Gillingham, where they won 4-0. No disrespect intended to Gillingham, but I'm not sure that's really going to help Sheffield's form in the Premiership. At home, Sheffield United are the 18th best side in the division with 8 points from 11 games, and they've conceded 26 goals over that sample, or 2.36 goals per game. The away side, Villa, have come unstuck in recent weeks. They've struggled to put away teams like Chelsea and Everton, but they have only lost 1 in their last 15, and that has seen the Villains seriously challenge for a top 4 space. Head-to-head, Sheffield United managed to draw this game, and they were unlucky to not get all 3 points. Cameron Archer's 87th minute goal was viewed by many as the winner, but it was Nicolo Zaniolo who scored in the 97th minute to equalise for the Villains. I'd suggest that result was more of an anomaly than it was a predictor of today's game. I think when you take into account the dominance that Villa showed in that most recent game, as well as the contrast in recent form for both sides, I don't think we can really take too much from this 1-1 draw result. For me, it's quite an open and shut case. I won't spend too much time on this. Aston Villa to win, full stake in bet number 2. Our third bet sees the calendar tick over to Sunday as Bournemouth host Nottingham Forest. And Bournemouth only needed 45 minutes to kill off Swansea's chances in the FA Cup. They led 5-0 at half-time, and the game finished 5-0. But in the Premier League, form has taken a recent downturn. They've lost each of their last 2 following quite a successful 4-game winning streak in the last month. The away side, Nottingham Forest, will be missing several players due to international duty, and this has impacted the recent form as well. They've won just 1 in their last 4, including a loss to Brentford in the Premiership and draws to League One Blackpool and Championship side Bristol City in the FA Cup. When we consider that both sides have patchy form, it's difficult to pick a winner here. I would lean slightly to Bournemouth, but that's not the direction I'm going in today. What I'm looking at is goals. Over 2.5 goals is hit in each of Bournemouth's last 7 games, and across the Premiership season, 75% of their games. 76% of their games has seen at least 3 scored. For Forest, over 2.5 has come in 6 of their last 7 games, with both teams scoring in those results as well. Away from home, Forest have seen at least 3 goals in 64% of their games, so it looks like a game for goals, maybe a 2-1 or 2-2. Either way, these sides can't defend, and they're not terrible going forwards. I think we're seeing at least 3 goals today, so that's what I'm backing. Over 2.5 goals for another full stake. Last up, but certainly not least, it's the tie of the round as Arsenal play Liverpool. This game is nothing less than a title decider, and at time of recording, Arsenal are third place, 5 points behind Liverpool, and they're level with Manchester City as well. If there's any side that needs the result today, it is Arsenal, as this represents the final opportunity to directly affect Liverpool in the title race. If they can get a win today and close that gap by 3 points, it does put Arteta and Arsenal within a real shot of capturing the Premier League title. However, this game has come at pretty terrible time for Arsenal. Their recent 5-0 win against Crystal Palace may gloss over the fact that they were winless in their last 4, losing each of their last 3 before that match. This also does include a 2-0 loss in the Cup at the hands of Liverpool. Speaking of Liverpool, the away side have been in unstoppable form of late. They are unbeaten in each of their last 10 games in all competitions, and head-to-head unbeaten against Arsenal in the last 3 matches. Additionally, Arsenal failed to keep a clean sheet in each of the last 6 head-to-head games, but there is some hope for the Gunners. For Liverpool, Salah, Endo, Tsimikas, and Robertson are all expected to miss the game, which opens up a better chance for Arsenal. I think Liverpool are going to struggle with their creativity moving forward, missing Salah, but also defensively. I don't really think that Joe Gomez is a very convincing left back. He's done an okay job covering for Tsimikas and for Robertson in recent weeks, but Arsenal are slightly better opposition than what Liverpool have been facing of late. So if Gomez starts at left back, he's expected to face Bukayo Saka on the Arsenal right. And I do see Bukayo getting the better of him, cutting in on his stronger left foot and getting shots away against Alisson. So the way that I'm leaning for this game is not a result, it's not goals. It's going to be the first ever player pick in the football betting series. I'm going to be taking Bukayo Saka 1+ shot on target when the markets are released. They're not currently open now, but he's going to come in anywhere between 1.5 and 2. And here's why it's looking like such a good selection. Bukayo Saka in the Premiership this season has taken 2.6 shots per game, and he's averaging just over 1 shot on target per game. However, he's had 1 shot on target in each of the last 4 games, and over that sample, it's been an average of 1.75 shots on target per game. Additionally, in his last 2 appearances against Liverpool, he's had a shot on target at least. He's had a shot on target and taken at least 2 attempts in each of his games against Liverpool. Bukayo Saka 1 shot on target. It's going to be for a full stake in my final bet of the episode. So there we have it, 4 selections in today's episode, starting off with Newcastle versus Luton. We're going to be back in the home side at odds of 1.39, £30 stake to return 11.70. Later on the Saturday, Sheffield United play Aston Villa. We're going to be backing the away side, odds of 1.59, £30 stake to return 17.70. Moving on to Sunday, Bournemouth versus Forest, over 2.5 goals, odds of 1.72, £30 stake to return £21.60. And wrapping up the weekend, Arsenal versus Liverpool. We're going to be taking our first ever player pick selection. Saka 1+ shot on target. Odds of between 1.5 and evens is what I'm expecting. So we're going to be conservative. £30 stake to return 15, and that game is at 16.30. So across our 4 games, we're going to be risking £120 to hopefully pick up as much as £66 sterling. Will we do so? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into the next episode. But if you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below and check out the pinned comment for even more continental bets. And as always, have yourself a lovely day.